أهلا بكم أعزائي طلبة وطالبات الصف الثالث الإعدادي في حلقة جديدة من مادة الساينس تحت رعاية وإشراف وزارة التربية والتعليم. Today we are going to start with the second term in our syllabus of science, and this term we are going to move in different types of varieties of branches of the science. First, we are going to take chemistry and then physics, and finally we end with biology. At the beginning, we started the first unit about chemistry with the first lesson about chemical reaction. At the beginning, chemical reaction, we use it in our daily life, in all our things in our life. Just from the beginning, if you want to operate your car, you're using the chemical energy. So let's go and move in the many different types of importance of chemical reactions in our daily life, and then we are going to know what's meant by chemical reaction scientifically. First of all, let's see together different importance of those chemical reaction. At the beginning, as I said before, if you start to move your car, as you see here in front of you, the burning of the car fuel is a kind of chemical reaction. There is no movement of the car without the fuel, and the fuel inside the car start to be burned, so the car start to move. So this is the first importance of the chemical reaction, which is burning of car fuel to helps in the movement of the car. Let's think about another uses of the chemical reaction in our daily life. Let's think something which is very important for the plant. We took it, all of us, in the early primary, which is photosynthesis process, which is the main process by which the plant makes its own food. And actually, all of you, you know, as you see here in the figure, that the plant takes what from the air? Carbon dioxide, and takes water from the soil. And then by the aid of the sunlight, which is the light energy, with the green chloroplasts, it starts to make its own food. So it's a kind of chemical reaction. You have to think with me from those different importance what's meant by chemical reaction. So the second importance here, it's used in the photosynthesis process and also in the respiration, and which is all of us, we make it by burning the food with oxygen. Next importance here in the manufacturing or in the industry of medicines and fertilizers. You know the medicines, كل مصانع الأدوية, it should be used chemicals, and then those chemicals will react together forming chemical reaction, so the medicine is a kind of importance of the chemical reaction in our daily life. And also in the manufacturing of fertilizers. Some of you don't know the meaning of fertilizers. Fertilizers is a kind of chemicals that we put it for the plant to grow well. It's kind of chemicals مع بعض بتتعمل بطرق في المصانع, so it helps the plant to grow well, so it's kind of food, addition food for the plant called fertilizers. And fertilizers also is the kind of uses of the chemical reaction. Then after we know those importance, I think that all of you, you know now what's meant by chemical reaction, but let's go together. If I want to go to the kitchen to make any kind of food, a delicious food, I start to get my ingredients. Like I want to make a cake, I get a flour and the sugar and the eggs and so on. Then each one of them is consist of things or materials inside it, okay? Then I start to put them, all of it together. Then it starts to be broken, each one. Yani sugar start to be broken into small parts or small components, and also the eggs and so on. Then they start to combine together or to react together to form the shape that I make it, which is the cake or the pizza or whatever, okay? Though this example looks like what happens in the chemical reaction. I started with chemical in lab, exactly the same as the kitchen, but in the kitchen we make food, in the lab we make a chemical reaction. What's meant by chemical reaction? If I put any chemicals, it starts to be broken. You know from the previous studies in the second prep that each chemical is connected together chemically with a kind of bonds. either ionic or covalent bond. So at the beginning الكيميكال رياكشن اول حاجه بتحصل breaking down of those bonds. تبتدي البونز دي like بستعمل صوديوم breaking down of the bonds between the sodium molecules, and then بحطه مع كلورين so the chlorine molecules start to be broken. Then after this broken they start to unite together or to combine together, forming a new product which is sodium chloride. So what's meant by chemical reaction? As you see here, it's the breaking up of bond between reactants molecules and formation of new bonds between the products molecules. And as you know before, each chemical reaction consists of reactants and condition of reaction, and finally we get products. أي حاجة بشوفها at the beginning, يعني if I start with sodium is a reactant, chlorine is a reactant, then after I get sodium chloride it's a product. يبقى أي chemical equation أو chemical reaction you should know from it تحدد which are the reactants and which are the products. طيب from this part we reach a very important, بعد ما عرفنا what is the importance and what is the definition, we have to know there are many different types of chemical reaction. But this year we have a certain types to study it very well and carefully. The types which we are going to study this semester or this term is number one, thermal decomposition. Thermal decomposition. What's meant by the word thermal? Thermal means heat. يعني I start to use the heat to decompose. طب عرفنا what meant by thermal. Thermal heat. طب what's meant by decomposition? Decomposition mean breaking down. يبقى أنا I start to break down a compound by using the heat. ده معنى كلمة thermal decomposition simply, and then we are going to use it and شوف الexample بتاعتها. يبقى the first type is thermal decomposition. Okay, the second type is the substitution reaction. And the substitution reaction from its word means something will substitute another chemical. يعني chemical substitute another chemical. We are going to see it in details. And the third one is called oxidation reduction reaction, and we are going to discuss it in details. Now let's go together and see the first type in details, which is in our lesson of today, which is the thermal decomposition. Let's start to see it together. Let's start now the first type of the chemical reaction, which is the thermal decomposition. At the beginning, you have to know what's meant by thermal decomposition. Thermal decomposition has start with, it's a chemical reaction, which I said that it's breaking down of compound, but here with the effect of heat. يعني I have to use the word heat لأن أنا هبتدي أعمل heating into its primary elements. فهنشوف كل واحد هيdecomposes أو breaking down its primary elements or simpler compound. يعني ممكن أنا أكون started with a complicated compound, so it will be simpler compound, وهنشوف إيه اللي بيطلع in each one. Taken in consideration, in each type of those chemical reaction, you have to know quite well the colors, the beginning color and the ending color, and also the equation in the reaction. But here, start to هنشوف إيه معنى الكلام ده. I start with compound, let's see AB. Compound consists of metal and non-metal AB. So, this is the condition which I use it. Triangle means heat. I use heat, so I put the symbol a triangle. Then I can get element A plus element B. So I break down this compound to its initial components, which is element A and element B. So from this diagram, you can define the thermal decomposition by heat into two elements A and B. Let's start chemically which types of thermal decomposition. عندي 4 types of thermal decomposition. We are going to take it this lesson. The first one, decomposition of metal oxides. ونخلي بالنا أقول metal oxides, so it will decompose to its component, which is metal and oxygen. هيديني metal and oxygen. This is the key that you have to know it. So I get metal and water. The last one, metal carbonate will be breaking down into الميتال كربونات هيديني الاند ريزلت لازم يطلع لي من اسمه برضه هيديني ميتال اوكسايد ويطلع لي كربون دايوكسيد. I can get it from the compound. Carbonate give me carbon dioxide. Sulfate also give me oxide plus هيطلع لي سلفر ترايوكسيد وهنشوف كل ده في الايكويشن مع بعض. Finally, nitrate give me nitrite, which is I said complicated compound thermally decomposes into simpler compound. Nitrate will be nitrite ويطلع لي برضو oxygen gas. Let's start كده experiment. أول حاجة as I said the metallic oxide decomposes. I said metal oxide هيديني metal plus oxygen gas. This is the equation that I'm going to use. This metal oxide هيديني by heating metal plus oxygen. طب تعالوا نشوف بقى الاكسبيرمنت. I get mercuric oxide as you see here in the equation. أنا لو جيت أسخن الريد mercuric oxide. الميركوريك اوكسايد ده it's a metal oxide. You know that the mercury is metal وoxygen mercuric oxide. By heating and then this symbol represents the heat give me mercury. طيب هو أنا بادئة بلون الcolor red so it will change into silver mercury and oxygen gas is released. طب how can I know that? This is the experiment in front of me after I heated. So it will give me, this is the red color, it will change into silver color which is the color of the mercury and oxygen gas is released. طب how can I get, I know this is oxygen. ممكن يكون البابلز ديت أو الجاز ده مش oxygen. If I put a match or glowing splint it will light up. glowing splint like stick منورة so هلاقيها النور بتاعها light up. So why? Because oxygen helps in burning. This is the first experiment. You have to know the equation well and you know the colors. The red color change into silver color. So here this is the thermal decomposition which happens to the mercuric oxide. It changes into its ion by heating and then getting this silver shape of mercury and oxygen gas is released. Okay, this is the structure to can see the decomposition. The second decomposition of metal hydroxide. I said hydroxide. أهو هنشوف hydroxide give me by heating metal هقسمها كأني ماسكة scissor بقسم الchemical into two parts to the simplest part of it which is metal oxide and I said hydroxide على طول تطلع لي plus water. This is the key that you are going to solve بأي equation تجيلك. hydroxide يجيب لي metal oxide plus water vapor. Let's see كده الexperiment. We are going to make a thermal decomposition to copper hydroxide. Copper hydroxide have عنده color اللون بتاعه لونه as you see here it's a let's see the experiment. الcolor ده هيchange from blue color into black. طب ايه البلاك اللي طلع لي ده؟ البلاك ده ان الكوبر هيدروكسيد let's see the equation here. The copper hydroxide which is blue color decomposes as you see here in the picture by heating and I said I have to put this triangle into copper oxide which is black. هتشوف لون black على التست تيوب وطلع لي ايه؟ This is the water. طب الووتر هتطلع لي على شكل ايه؟ This arrow means it's water vapor. هلاقي water vapor طلع لي. يبقى this is the second type of thermal decomposition to metal hydroxide giving metal oxide and water vapor. Next one, thermal decomposition of metal carbonate. هنستخدم metal carbonate. I said metal carbonate by heating give me metal oxide. كله هيديني metal oxide. But next product I get it from the compound. carbonate يبقى على طول carbon dioxide plus carbon dioxide. طب you know previously from the previous lessons in الكربون dioxide I can detect it how؟ ما هو جاز برضو هعرف ازاي؟ I pass it on a lime water. You know the chemical which is lime water. It's clear. after we pass the carbon dioxide on the lime water, it will be turbid. لونه turbid like the chalk كده بيبقى لونه أبيض. So I know this gas is carbon dioxide. As you see here, you can see the experiment. Here, the copper carbonate كان لونه green. After heating, as you said here, it will change into the black copper oxide, and this bubble representing the carbon dioxide gas, which turn lime water into turbid. Okay, so here is the second experiment. So you can see here the black color, and this is our equation. Finally, here, this is the equation. Copper carbonate, CuCO3. So, I want you to know a very important part. Here, this is called symbolic equation. And all of us, you know that you have a chemistry low language. What is the language of the chemistry? This equation. I put symbols together, forming a formula, and this formula represent to me any reactions. The scientists ما بيحبوش يتكلموا كتير. So they use the symbolic equations to represent what they want. So what is the copper carbonate symbol or formula? CuCO3, which is green, will be thermally decomposes, as we see in the video, to copper oxide, and which gas released? Carbon dioxide. Next, thermal decomposition to the metal sulfate. Metal sulfate, from its name, decomposes into metal oxide and give me sulfur trioxide gas. Let's see here. Here is the metal, which is copper sulfate. After heating, it will turn also to copper oxide. عرفنا من كل الاكسبيرمنت اللي فاتت that the color of carbon dioxide will be black. خلاص عرفنا copper oxide will be black. finally بيبتدي بcolor وبينتهي بالبلاك color. طب what is the color of copper sulfate? It's also blue color. After heating, as you see here, it will change into black color of copper oxide. And what is the gas resulted from the name? Sulfur trioxide. Let's see the equation together. Here is the equation. Copper sulfate, CuSO4, with a blue color, will be decomposed by heat, thermal decomposition, into copper oxide, which is black, as we see here. Tab, which gas is released? Sulfur trioxide. Some of you tell me, tab, we are going to memorize this. لا احنا نفهم. How can we get it? I said at the beginning ان الchemical equation او chemical reaction هو عبارة عن breaking down. طب let's see here how can I break it. CuSO4 I said كلهم في thermal decomposition بيgive me the result is حاجة oxide. طب الحاجة ايه؟ الميتال هنا copper. Copper oxide CuO. I use only one oxygen here. So I use oxygen. فضل كام oxygen من SO4? 3. يبقى SO3. So you get or you break down this part here to get copper oxide after the thermal decomposition, and the result is SO4, which is changed into the sulfur trioxide gas, which is released as a bubbling gas. Next one. Thermal decomposition to metal nitrate. I said, and concentrate with me, any compound هتقدر تعرف الريزلت منه from the name of the compound. Metal nitrate will be thermally decomposes, and you don't forget to write the triangle for the heat, to metal nitrite. Nitrite is the simple compound. اللي فاتوا كله كنا بنقول بيطلع لي oxide. Here it's a complicated compound. Metal nitrate. Compound complicated شوية. فلما بيجي simplified and break down into simplest compound من نفس النوع اللي هو metal nitrite plus oxygen gas will release. طب let's see كده الايكويشن بتاعته and the experiment. Here الميتال nitrite has a white color. هو powder with white color. After we heat it, like you see here, it will change into a yellowish white color. What's meant by yellowish? Yellowish يعني لونه مدي على مصفر, beige, off white. So it's changed from the white color into yellowish color as you see here. طب مين البداية؟ اسمه صوديوم نايتريت اللي لونه يلو لونه وايت. طب change into what؟ صوديوم نايترايت simplest compound لونه yellowish. طب ايه اللي هيطلع as we said before؟ هنشوف الاكسبيرمنت now او الايكويشن مع بعض. This is the yellowish color as we see. طب الايكويشن مهمة جدا الايكويشن. This is sodium nitrate with NO3. And you know this is from previous studied. Thermally decomposes into the simplest compound sodium nitrite. طب ايه الديفرنت ما بينهم في الشكل الفورمولا بتاعته؟ Here عندي 3 oxygen and here I have 2 oxygen. طب where is the oxygen اللي فضلت؟ Here is the oxygen اللي طلعت as a bubbles طالعة من الرياكشن. يبقى easily without any effort you can write the equation if you know the formula of any compound, and you have to know the colors. The starting color is white, the ending one is yellowish white. Okay, let's go now and see after that we are going to know. هنا عرفنا الأنواع الثيرمال decomposition. Either on thermal decomposition for metal oxides and for metal hydroxide. وقلنا أول ما ألاقي oxide so the result is هيطلع لي الميتال plus oxygen. طب metal hydroxide يبقى هيديني الميتال oxide ويطلع لي result hydroxide يبقى water. كربونات هيديني metal oxide also والresult carbon dioxide. طيب سلفات هيديني الميتال اوكسايد ويديني سلفر ترايكسايد. هي اتس complicated شويه بس we are going to know it. نايتريت هيديني الكيميكال نايترايت and you give me oxygen, and you have to know in all of them the colors of the starting reactants and the color of the products. لازم نحفظها علشان نقدر نعرفها. اوكي طيب يبقى here احنا we finished all the types of the thermal decomposition. And we know from them. Let's see together on the screen all the equations that we took it about the thermal decomposition and have a look on it. Those are all the equation either by colored, so you can know all of them. Okay, now we have to know that we took all the chemistry and all the branches of science to use it as a life application in our daily life. So this type of thermal decomposition, we use it in a very important things in our life, which is the airbags. All of you, you know that all the cars, the modern cars have an airbags that for safety in the case of accident. طب ايه علاقة الairbags بالthermal decomposition؟ The airbag is about if there is an accident, لو حصل accident, so بتحصل spark which is electric spark from the engine. This electric spark بتعمل heating for the gas that is filled inside this airbag as you see here. الايرباج ده فيه نوع او material او chemical called sodium nitrite, sodium NaN3. الماتيريال دي after the sparks that happens due to the car accident, it will be decomposed by the heat, producing sodium and nitrogen gas. The nitrogen gas, the gas, it fills this airbag, so it will be filled and floating أو تحصل لها increase inside, so it helps أو it prevent the driver from being hurt during the accident as you see here in front of you. This is a live application for the thermal decomposition that we took it today in our lesson, and one of the application of the using of the chemical reaction. Here we take in this lesson the first type of the chemical reaction, which is the thermal decomposition, and by the 5 types of it. So now we are going to complete the next lesson, inshallah, the other types of chemical reaction. Let's study the lesson and see you next episode, and goodbye.